You're watching O'Connor tonight, and we're continuing our conversation with former FBI Special Agent Tom Baker. His book, The Fall of the FBI: How a Once Great Agency Became a Threat to Democracy. And Mr. Baker, you were just sort of fleshing out a point there with regard to the FBI. Now, so much of its operations post 9/11 oriented toward intelligence gathering versus law enforcement and investigating crimes. And we were talking about the distinction there between how an intelligence agency works or sometimes doesn't work within the confines of the Constitution. Do you think that this is sort of part of the problem with the culture at the FBI now that has gone well beyond just the counterintelligence part, the spying part of the FBI, but it's sort of permeated into the regular gumshoe cop and detective part of FBI?
That's it exactly. They have changed the culture. Began under Mueller, continued under Comey, and now because of this loosey-goosey intelligence culture that allows you to think about and wander off into all sorts of areas, we've had all these problems. The first one that was very clear was the Russian collusion investigation. And of course, the bad actors there, Comey, Strzok, McCabe, they've been shown the door. Then we had the gymnast case. 2 agents were shown the door. Then we had the Governor Whitmer case. At least 2 agents were shown the door. And each time these problems come to the fore, the Bureau and the current director, Ray, says, well, we got rid of the bad apples, in so many words.
Yeah.
But the problem continues. The problem is the underlying culture. John Durham, the special counsel's report, did an excellent job of this. And he said there is a need to continually remind the FBI, he used these words in the report, continually remind the FBI of their need to adhere with fidelity to the Constitution. That's what we need to get back to. John Durham was right. It's not just a few bad apples. Now, most recently, and you started by talking about the Hunter Biden mess, last December, an ASAC, assistant agent in charge in the Washington field office, was allowed to walk out the door for having slow walked, deep sixed, if you will, aspects of the Hunter Biden laptop investigation. And once again, the response from the FBI was, well, the bad apple is gone. But what needs to be done is they need to look at, and a lot of people there believe this too, they need to look at the underlying culture and change the culture to a focus on the Constitution, just like a law enforcement agency's focus.
Mr. Baker, I hear you, but I've got to guess, anyone watching this, Christopher Wray's watching this, James Comey's watching it, Robert Mueller, Peter Strzok, Andy McCabe, all those guys, they're saying, oh, Tom, this is a new FBI because of 9/11. And if we follow your advice, then we'll get attacked again. You may not like the way we operate, but we're keeping America safe. How are they wrong?
Well, they're right and they're wrong. It's understandable why this change happened. Every time in history where there's a crisis, it happened in World War II. We had a crisis, Pearl Harbor was attacked, and all of a sudden a lot of bad rules came out, including the internment of Japanese citizens. That was wrong. We realize it now. In the Civil War, we had a great president in Abraham Lincoln, yet he suspended habeas corpus. He was wrong. And some of these things that have put in effect in the FBI and the attitude, the mindset that has developed since September 11th is wrong. It's all understandable how it happened, but it's wrong, and we have to get back on track. And to get back on track in the FBI, that means making the Constitution primary and all decisions made in the light of the Constitution. If that was done, there'd never be any entertainment of surveilling the speech of parents at school board meetings, of surveilling Catholics because they like to say the Mass in Latin, of canceling American citizens who make postings you don't agree with on Twitter. All of those things go smack up against our, not just the First Amendment, but all the Bill of Rights guarantees.
Yeah, amen. So we've got a lot of opinions now about how to fix the FBI. The good news is every Republican candidate right now running for president acknowledges there's something broken and they want to fix it, except maybe Chris Christie. Not sure about that guy. But they've got a lot of different ideas on how to do it. I've heard some people say, you know what, our country has existed half its existence. We didn't have an FBI. Let's get rid of it completely and just let local marshals and law enforcement agencies working for each individual U.S. attorney in each district work on the law enforcement aspects. We don't need a centralized FBI out of D.C. What do you think of that solution?
Well, that has appealed to a lot of people. I happen not to agree with that. I think it's good that our domestic intelligence service is kept under the umbrella of a law enforcement agency. I said for years, and not just me, I mean, this was what FBI instructors and lecturers and public spokesmen people would say, that we're unique in the United States in that our domestic security service is in fact a law enforcement agency, therefore working within the bounds of the Constitution, within the guidelines of the law. Unfortunately, that's been turned on its head, and I fear, and this is the topic of my book, that now we have a domestic intelligence agency with police powers, and that's something we have to hold in check. But I don't think abolishing the FBI is the answer. Reforming the FBI, which has to be done internally, and also some of the laws that have been abused around it, such as some of the applications of FISA, can be addressed and should be addressed by the Congress.
There are some reformers who would suggest that all you really got to do is clean house from all the political appointees, the seventh floor, as they like to say. Get rid of all of them, hire people over again who would work with a different direction and a different approach, and that would instantly change the culture. Is it that simple?
No, I don't think it's that simple. I think the culture is more widespread. I mean, for one thing, now we have a whole new class of people that need to be trained in the Constitution, intelligence analysts, that they were expanded, their role was expanded after September 11th. It's not just the special agents anymore. But the FBI does do a lot of good things. They do a lot of service functions to support state and local police. We need the FBI, but we need it to stay within the guidelines of the Constitution, and we need leaders like Chris Wray to recognize there is a problem with the culture and to correct that problem. There was a tremendous missed opportunity last week when he testified before Congress. He could have come out forthrightly and recognized the problems. Instead, he again, there's this theme they use, and actually you used it, and a lot of people in the media use it. They talk about all the good men and women, all the good employees of the FBI, 30-some thousand people now. That's not the issue. That's a distraction. That's like the old saying, the old canard, that when people talked about a certain racial or ethnic group, fill in the blank, whatever one you want, they always then prefaced it with the comment, some of my best friends are.
Right.
And Ray and everybody else saying there are 38,000 hardworking men and women in the FBI. That's not the issue. That's like saying some of my best friends are.
Yeah, that's a great point. So Jim Jordan, congressman from Ohio, he's the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, is also chairing this this subcommittee on the weaponization of the government. A lot of the focus has been on the FBI. I'm sure you're paying attention to that. Do you think he's going in the right direction? And you just mentioned this has to come from Congress. So sort of reinforce that. Are they on the right path right now for real reform?
Well, he's doing a heck of a job. I testified in one of the openings of that hearing in February. He has a very difficult job. It's an imperfect vehicle because he still has a lot of the Democrats on the committee. They'd rather talk about Trump, Trump, Trump than look at the problems of DOJ and FBI. Not all of them. Some of them see some of the problems. They definitely see the threat to civil liberties with parts of the FISA Act. They definitely see the danger in the monitoring of Americans' free speech on social media. But most of the Democrats are not on board with him, so the hearings are very difficult to get a focus on. Then when they had Chris Wray there a week and a half ago, Chris Wray, just went off in all different directions, and quite frankly, the congressman did as well. I think Jordan stayed on point on the big issues, and that's what needs to be done. But at the end of the day, he's doing the best he can, and he's running that committee very well, and there is work for Congress to do that they can do. At the end of the day, the FBI has to clean house. But the Congress can do something, and one of the things that were abused terribly is FISA, and they definitely can address that.
Oh, amen to that, and they need to. Listen, there's much more to discuss, and hopefully we'll do it on another day. We're out of time now. That's Tom Baker. The book is The Fall of the FBI, How a Once Great Agency Became a Threat to Democracy. He calls out the problems, but then he offers solutions. That's our kind of guest. Keep it here on O'Connor Tonight.